friends, it's nice to have a friend. I'm so sorry, I had to. When does Taylor Swift ever get into the marketing of a horror film? Today is the answer. Hi friends. There we go, a little bit more straight. Today we're gonna go watch M3GAN. This movie is coming out just this week in Australia. That's why I'm a couple of days late. I know a lot of you saw it last Friday. In fact, the film premiered back in December and I could not get away from the marketing. I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world, or maybe the most skilled, with the fact that I have not seen the trailer for this film. Can you believe that? I have dodged it. The marketing has been insane for this movie. There has not been a Blumhouse film other than Halloween, I think, that's done this intense of a marketing campaign, and I think they just had a lot of fun with it. M3GAN, of course, stars Alison Williams, Violet McGraw, and Jenna Davis as the voice, of course. It's about a robotic engineer at a toy company that builds a life-size doll that begins to take on a life of its own. The film is written by Akela Cooper and, of course, James Wan, who also did *Malignant*, so I have a feeling it's gonna get campy. People are gonna be upset. And I have kind of seen this because although I don't know anything about the film, I've seen a couple of people's reactions online in our community. People say they hate it, people say they love it, and so it's giving me *Malignant*, funny, just a goofy vibe, although it's not comedy, it's horror, sci-fi, thriller. I'm looking at the IMDb page, so that's really interesting. I'm really interested to see if I'm gonna like this film, but I am just gonna go in for plain fun and know it is that. So that's my expectations. What I do love about this is it's directed by Gerard Johnston, who did Housebound. If you have not seen that film, it's an amazing New Zealand comedy horror, and I don't think that this is going to have the same kind of satire vibe. I feel like this is a little bit more skewed to the American sense of humor instead of very dry like New Zealand and the UK. But I really like him and I trust him. Do I? We'll find out. I cannot stress enough how insane the marketing campaign for this has been and how long it's been going on. I remember back in December before Christmas, just being pumped out on social media, just clip after clip after clip. I swear everyone has seen every moment from this film and I just have been looking away, dodging it as I go. And I just hope that there was a reason for that. I hope that Jason Blum knew that he had something special, something unique and something fun, and we're gonna go with it. Is this gonna be different to Chucky? A yussified Chucky, but I guess that's Glenda. Either way, I'm going to the premiere here in Perth, Western Australia, and I am going to find out for once if M3GAN is a friend or a foe. And I'll give you my spoiler-free thoughts on whether you should spend your time this weekend seeing this film, or this week, or wait for streaming, because sometimes that can be the better option, especially if it's kind of like a comedy. Maybe it doesn't need the big screen. I know every film should be seen in the cinema, but sometimes you can get away with watching a fun flick at home. And yeah, I'll let you know my opinion. Let's go and check out M3GAN. M3GAN. Oh my god! I just got out of seeing M3GAN. It's not M3GAN, it's M3GAN. I feel like some people like their names pronounced a certain way, but that's besides the point. Obviously, I'm gonna respect her wishes because we love her. That film was so much better than I expected. I think I went into it thinking it was going to be super, super campy like *Malignant*, which it is in many ways, but I was so impressed with what they did with that story, especially from all of like the viral marketing and how it was all about like the dancing and all that kind of stuff. I thought there was going to be a lot more of that kind of aspect, and they really took their time with the structure and the setup to make it have a bigger impact. The movie is about a girl who goes to live with her auntie after a horrendous accident, and her auntie is this robotic engineering genius and decides to make a friend for her niece. And it's just so fun. It's like a really fun movie. The whole cinema was cracking up the entire movie, and it has those strange, subtle, random aspects that we've come to love in these kind of campy films. I think like Dead Silence is like the center point, where all of this like random, the shaving of the razor, if you know what I mean, if you've seen it recently, you know what I mean. All of these like really fun aspects that just really take a turn and really catch you by surprise. And this film, I think what I liked about it was I had no idea actually what was going to happen next. Of course, it's an evil doll. Of course, it's like a film where there's going to be peaks and flows and you can kind of guess where they're coming. But with the story structure, it was so fun just to go along for the ride and not know when M3GAN was going to crack, because she's going to crack. What I really found interesting about this film is it's more layered than I expected as well. So because of the writers being Akila Cooper and James Wan, kind of like Malignant, I knew it was going to have that randomness and that fun to it. And it doesn't work for everyone, this kind of humor and tonal kind of shift in films. But I think because they worked with Gerald Johnston on this one, it kind of toned it down. And if you have seen Housebound, it is such a similar feel in the way that it's a funny movie, but it has some substance to it and a real meaning and a really underlying theme. And surprisingly, this film is all about like attachment and grief. And I just was not expecting a movie about like a killer doll to be about that. So I felt that was a really interesting kind of turn of events. And the way that the film slowly gets into the storyline, I also thought it was going to be a lot more blood, a lot more kills, a lot more kind of unhinged madness, but it was really controlled and you really understood every single character, their motives. You really knew everyone's inner thoughts, and it just wasn't so rushed and like just placed together and, surrounding this doll storyline. It was really well thought out, and I just did not expect that. I expected a lot more dancing, a lot more killing, and a lot more bloodshed, and it really didn't have a lot of that. It was kind of just funny and sinister in a kind of goofy way. This makes sense because I read after the movie that they actually toned down a lot of the violence because it was really close to a PG-13 rating. They were going for an R, but it was so close that they reshot a couple of scenes and toned down the violence and made it more inferred violence so it could pass through with that rating. But it made it so enjoyable and so easily to get sucked into all of the characters. And yeah, I guess I wasn't expecting it to be an actual good movie, just like a funny, fun popcorn horror. And it had just a little bit of depth to it. And I honestly felt myself like getting emotional in parts, and yeah, just totally unexpected. I like when I go into movies with really low expectations, and this one exceeded mine. It really did. I thought I was gonna have a fun time, but I didn't think I would feel something. Alison Williams did amazing as Gemma, but Violet McGraw, who we all know from The Haunting of Hill House, she was fantastic in this. And I always applaud child actors. I just don't know how they do it. It just would have been such an interesting filmmaking process with this film. Working with CGI and the way they put the character together, it would have been quite challenging. And I think that they pulled it off, and she looked great, by the way. I think they can get away with any funky looking movements or anything because she is robotic. So it really hit the nail on the head. I think the production for this was so clean and so crisp. Everything looked good. Everything had like an extra kind of bite to it and felt polished. I actually do understand why Blum put all of the marketing behind it, because it makes so much sense. And because it's such a story about screen time and people being addicted to technology and all of that kind of stuff, it makes sense to kind of go viral in its own right. It's like this weird meta moment. I usually talk about cinematography and sound in this these videos, obviously. Cinematography, it's just a very straightforward, it's no real stylization is on this movie. But I would say what I really liked was the set design in the auntie's house. I liked how reflective it was of her personality and her lifestyle. And instead of just showing us who she is in a couple of scenes, we get to find out exactly who she is by seeing her surroundings. So I thought that was well done. Pretty obvious, but I thought that was well done and it looks great. And sound, there's nothing I really picked up with sound. This movie had like a lot of music that was played into the marketing. Of course, I sang Taylor Swift in the beginning of this video. I was kind of sad I didn't hear that. I'm not sure if it was in like the credits, like, you know, later in the credits. Sad that wasn't kind of weaved in, but it does have some interesting musical moments, and I'm gonna leave it at that because this is spoiler free. What I really enjoyed about this film is the depth, the funny tone to it that wasn't too over the top. It was a little bit dry. It was just that little bit sassy and that little bit awkward, and it just felt funny and unreal, and they went with it completely. But what I really like about it is this feels like a classic horror movie that you used to, you know, rent on VHS or DVD. It's not trying to overdo it with this complicated storyline, and I'm not saying that because it's not arty or anything. It's just more of the complex storyline. It's keeping it like simple, stupid, and really going down to the core emotions and being forthcoming with its intentions, and I think it hit the nail on the head with that one. I really enjoyed this, obviously, and I highly recommend going to see it in the cinema just because with a crowd it's so much more fun because it is a funny film. It wasn't one of those films that was so tense that you didn't want to hear anyone else move or breathe. It was a fun experience for everyone to kind of be shocked at those kooky random moments together. And I wonder how this works at home without the laughter track, the audience laughter track, because there's some really awkward moments, and I'm sure you'll probably laugh out loud if you do watch this at home. Either way, highly recommend checking this one out. I do think it's worth your time. If you like kooky movies, if you liked *Malignant*, you'll definitely love it. But if you didn't like *Malignant*, I still think that you will enjoy it because it is toned down a little bit and it's more of a serious kind of lead in, and you really get to know the characters well, and it makes a lot of sense, and it's just going for madness. Killer doll madness. And fun fact, I just read on my phone that the writer for the film said that the original body count was much higher. So there you go. And the writer, Akilah Cooper, hopes that the film will eventually have an unrated cut release. So we can look forward to that in the future. If this does come out, I will be watching it. I'm going to give this one a personal score of, do I say it? I'm going to give it an 8. I think we need to take into account the intent with this film, and it wasn't trying to be anything more than what it was. And for me, 8s are usually films that have a lot of depth to them, but with the intent, the filmmaker's intent, you can't really fault that. So I'm gonna go with an 8 for this one. We'll see how that lands later. For originality, I'm gonna give it a 5. It's not really a super original story. It's just well put together and has like a fun edge to it. And for scare, I'm gonna go with a 5. It has some gore in it. Obviously nothing too intense, but nothing too scary. So just smack in the middle. Definitely, like, I was cringing at some parts, but it's just inferred moments. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to hear what you thought of M3GAN down below. If you're wondering what other movies I'm looking forward to this year and that you should put on your to watch list, check out this video here. I left the link down in the description and in the comments, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.